That's All Any of Us Are, Amateurs. We Don't Live Long Enough to Be Anything Else, by Charlie Chaplin. I came across this quote in a book I was reading recently, and it really inspired me to make this video. I love all aspects of game development, and because of this, I try to learn a little bit of everything. But this quote got me thinking, what does it mean to learn a skill, and what does it take to be good? So I did a bunch of research, looking at how artists build on their process, maybe speedrunners learning a new route, cooks learning knife skills, physical trainers adding a little bit of weight each week, and I discovered that even with the most complicated skills, it's easiest to look at it as the accumulation of effort over time. So let's say you're learning a new skill starting from zero, and you've heard the myth that it takes 10,000 hours to become good at something. For perspective, 10,000 hours would be like doing this new thing as a full-time job for 5 years. The truth is that it doesn't actually take this long to become good at something. The research this myth is built upon came from studying expert-level performance from professional athletes, world-class musicians, and chess grandmasters. So if 10,000 hours isn't the trick, how long does it actually take to develop skill in something? After 20 hours of dedicated practice, there are massive gains when learning any new skill. So let's break this down. As a personal example, I've been practicing martial arts for about 6 years, and at my school the requirement to promote from one belt to the next was 20 classes in 3 months. 20 classes is about 20 hours. If we look at something like strength training, working out for 30 minutes 3 times a week will take 13 to 14 weeks, and if you increase the weight by 5 pounds each week, you'll end up seeing a difference of 65 to 70 pounds. While this isn't necessarily a linear curve, it does offer that perspective. But with these two previous skills, it was about 3 months, so isn't it just 3 months to learn a skill? Let's look at something less physical though. If you're learning to draw, it'd be like practicing for 45 minutes every day for about a month or 27 days. If you're taking 30 minutes to cook a meal, you'll have cooked 40 meals, which could be as little as 13 days. All of this might sound like a lot together, but don't focus on the years, months, or weeks it might take. Think about days. Think about the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, or even just 10 minutes a day. Skill is the accumulation of effort over time. I mentioned at the start that I like to learn a little bit of everything, so this perspective is really exciting for me. I can set a goal, spend 20 hours working on it, and then reflect on what I've learned. Keep a journal of your progress, whether it's taking photos with a couple sentence summary, or a more formal write-up, and use this to track how far you've come. Learning different skills, exploring different hobbies, all these things reinforce the skills that you've already learned as well. Many skills share a lot of overlap. For example, my martial arts and studying the design of fighting games went hand in hand, each building on the other. Studying general game design theory recontextualized how I look at things like room planning, task breakdowns, and dependency structures. You can find inspiration in all sorts of bizarre places. A fairly abstract leap was between cooking and programming. In a lot of ways, both are about inputs generating predictable outputs. When I first got really interested in games though, I considered myself way too much of a programmer to do art, and then I started studying digital media. In college, I felt that I could better communicate with artists and designers if I learned a little bit more about their art. I had started my journey learning about game development in the lens of a programmer, but as I learned more about design, I became super interested in things like procedural generation. Then came procedural art kits like Substance Designer and VFX software like Houdini, and I learned that I could apply math to art just as easily. Learning a little bit from each different field helped me evaluate my specializations and solve more unique problems. Now we've covered what it takes to learn a new skill, let's address another major wall. As someone who's been a constant procrastinator and perfectionist, I've found some ways to mitigate against the things that hold us back from creating. Build a list of things that you need to get done or want to get done, and that can be a great way to productively procrastinate. For example, I procrastinated working on this video by going for walks, taking short naps, making myself food, going for a drive, but also I split up my work for this video into different pieces. When I got tired of outlining my thoughts and inspirations, I might record some. When I got frustrated with recording, I might re-watch the things that inspired me, and when I needed a way to get back into working, I could look for music to use. But a really valuable bit of advice I picked up from a creator I follow, where he talks about his 70% rule. To help create more consistently, allow yourself to get 70% of the way there, instead of pushing for 100% and letting the flaws of your work get in the way of sharing. He broke down his rule into 4 main points. The first is that it helps lower the barrier of entry by accepting 70% instead of only ever 100%. Which embodies the idea of doing just a little bit each day. Can you do a mild workout? Can you knock out one thing from your to-do list? Can you create a piece of art that you're okay with in just a few minutes? The next point he called the law of diminishing returns, and in his example, day 1 you make a ton of progress, maybe you get 50 to 60% of the way there. Day 2 you're able to polish it up, fix a few things, and you get closer to the 75% mark. but on day 3, you start to see negative returns. Not because you polish it so much that it becomes bad. Instead, you start to run out of time, and you could already be 50% through the next project. The third key point is that it helps you finish projects. Rather than ask, what's wrong with this? Ask, is this better than 70%? People can only find your work if your work is out there, and finishing projects is the best way to do that. And finally, probably one of his most important points, is that you are not defined by what you can accomplish or produce. People won't hate you for making something imperfect. And so, it's all about lowering the barrier to entry. Consistent work over time will lead to better work as your pool of knowledge grows. The 70% rule reminded me of another idea called the Pareto Principle, which has application in economics, computing, sports, and even studying. The principle is that 80% of value is often created by 20% of output. There's research to suggest that students can learn 80% of the required learning material with approximately 20% of the effort. If we apply this principle to the thread of learning new skills, breaking down the 10,000 hours it takes to become an expert, 20% of that is 2,000 hours, 20% of that is 400 hours, and again is 80. Every larger goal can be broken down into smaller, more manageable pieces, and each project builds on that body of knowledge. Consider that following this line of thought, the first 20% of learning will always be some of the most valuable. So write down your goals, share what you're working on, what you're inspired by, talk about who influences you. Everyone loves to see behind the curtain. Study your process, keep a journal of it, and share your progress. The last bit of insight that I want to leave you with is that you develop taste long before you develop skill. There will be many things along your journey that you will make or learn and then outgrow. You'll look back and think about how far you've come, but these oldest moments don't resonate with your skill anymore. You may even believe that the work you do today isn't good enough. Your taste tells you that it's not good enough. It's not quite there, but don't let that stop you. Everyone starts somewhere, and it's hard to go anywhere without any practice. At the end of the day, the work you felt wasn't good enough gave you practice. Your taste is still good, and making something that isn't meeting that bar of quality doesn't diminish that. Don't let this voice stop you. Allow yourself to be an amateur, and let your taste guide you. Don't focus on the decades, years, months, or weeks. Focus on the days, and build your process one step at a time. If you've watched this through to the very end, thank you very much. I really hope that any of these ideas helped in some way to inspire you to learn or share more, and let me know what you think in the comments below. In the description down below are also links to the various creators and sources of my inspiration for this video. And to all my mentors, teachers, masters, inspirations, family, and friends, thanks for everything. See you in the next video.